Hello everybody, it's Portal, and welcome to the third installment of my series DBDummies, where I will be going over the basics of Dead by Daylight for new players. Today, I'll be going over beginner tips on how to play Killer. Killer is my personal favorite role in Dead by Daylight, and it is also the hardest role in the game. I'll be going over beginner killers that I recommend to play, and strategies on how to get kills. Also, please note that this episode will be split into two parts. Next time, I'll go over mind games and more advanced killers for better players. Now, I've already gone over the basics of Killer in my first DBDummies episode. If you haven't watched that yet, please watch it first so you know the very basics. First up, I'll go over chasing. The core of hunting down survivors is chasing them and trying to down them as soon as possible, as to not waste time when generators are being repaired by other survivors. As I covered in the last video, killers are faster than survivors, so when they are running in a straight line, you will gain on them. A good survivor will immediately run towards a tile or a loop, initiating a real chase. Some general advice for chasing is to only swing when you know you are going to hit a survivor, as a missed swing will slow you down for a little bit, letting the survivor make more distance from you. Always follow scratch marks, as they will always lead to a sprinting survivor. Also, one of the most important things that a killer can do is use their ears. Survivors are loud as hell. They breathe loud, run loud, groan loud when injured, and many more. Use this to your advantage. Be aware of your surroundings and do not let them get away with trying to sneak away if injured. My best advice on how to deal with survivors who are good at looping you around tiles or around a single object is to just practice. It is an acquired skill that you have to have experience in to get better at. Most likely you're going to get your ass kicked for about 10 games or more in a row, and that's totally fine. Every time a survivor beats you in a chase, you can just learn from your mistakes. See how they juked you, see how you could have gotten a hit instead, and next time you are in that scenario, do your best to do better. Also, note that a lot of survivors can be particularly mean. Teabagging, flashlight clicking, pointing, and more will be used to agitate you and get you to play worse. Don't fall for these survivors' mental warfare. They're trying to get you to play sloppy and play emotional. Play to have fun and don't crack under the pressure of stress. Next up is how to defend. Generators are the core objective for you to defend. Killers can see where every generator is on the map with their aura. When survivors are repairing them, the generator will make a different noise. The noise is very obvious when you are close by, so if you hear odd clicking and whirring, go over to the generator and start chasing the survivors off of it. Generators will take 80 seconds for one survivor to repair. Each survivor repairing them will repair a bit slower than usual, so if 4 survivors are repairing a generator, it'll take more than 20 seconds to repair, instead taking about 37 seconds, so survivors can't just work together and repair all gens in a few minutes. If you see a generator with repair progress but no one is nearby, you can hit it by holding down the interact button and it'll begin to regress at half the speed of one survivor repairing it. It would take about 160 seconds to fully deplete a generator at 99% progress. Once a generator is repaired, it is fully done and cannot be regressed, so move on to defending other areas not in that spot. There are a total of 7 generators per match, so when one is left to be repaired, there will be 3 generators to defend. If you are lucky, the 3 gens will be in one area, letting you patrol very easily, saving a lot of time and putting the game in your favor. When all generators are repaired and the exit gate is opened, the end game collapse begins. When it begins, a timer counts down for 2 minutes, slowing its progress by half when a survivor is hooked or downed. Once all time is up, every survivor still in the trial will be killed instantly. If you see the countdown start, most likely you will be getting a kill on those who open the exit gate. But abuse mistakes, and if you are lucky, you can get a kill during the endgame collapse. Also, note that when you close the hatch when there are still generators left to be repaired, the exit gates will be powered and the endgame collapse will begin. So survivors will most likely be running towards an exit gate, so go there immediately and patrol both of them. Next up, I'll be going over the best killers for beginners. Like survivors, each killer has their own 3 unique perks, which can be unlocked at their level 30, 35, and 40. But killers have a much more unique reason to play them other than just their perks. They have powers. Since every killer has a different power, they all have super unique playstyles, so you can focus on one that is the most fun for you. Most killers have a terror radius, which tells survivors if they are near. The default is 32 meters, and the closer a killer gets to a survivor, the survivors will hear an increasingly loud heartbeat in their ears. Survivors move at 4.0 meters per second. Most killers move at 4.6 meters per second, some move at 4.4 meters per second, and only one moves at 3.85 meters per second, meaning that one killer, the nurse, is slower than survivors. Now, before I go over beginner killers, I'll tell you one who I highly recommend for new players to avoid. As I said before, the nurse. She is simply too different, incredibly difficult for new players to learn, and has by far such a unique kit and playstyle that if you only learn to play as her, you'll be struggling on every other killer. So try to avoid the nurse, since she's a bit too hard for new players in my personal opinion. Now, in my opinion, the best killer for a new player to learn how to play the role is the Wraith. He's super simple yet effective in what he does. His unique power allows him to ring a bell and cloak himself. He will let off no terror radius, so survivors will not know if he is near when he is cloaked. He also moves faster when cloaked and is very hard to see unless he is close by. He cannot hit survivors while cloaked and has to uncloak to actually hit someone. When cloaking and uncloaking, he rings a bell, notifying survivors that he is changing his form. He is also slowed considerably when both cloaking and uncloaking, giving survivors a chance to run away. When he successfully uncloaks, he gets a short yet powerful speed boost to catch up to survivors who ran away. Usually as the Wraith, you should stay in cloaked form until you start chasing a survivor. Get as close as possible before you uncloak and hit them. After that, you can either continue chasing uncloaked or cloak back up again and then chase them a bit faster. Then hit them again. The second best killer for new players is the Hillbilly, or Billy for short. His power lets you charge up a chainsaw and enter a chainsaw sprint. As you charge, you are slowed considerably to be even slower than survivors, but when you start to sprint, you move insanely fast, allowing you to only strafe left or right very slowly. Sprinting is insane for pressuring generators, allowing you to traverse the map in a matter of seconds. Also, when you're sprinting, if you collide into a survivor, you will instantly down them, ignoring the injured state. Running into a survivor will stop your sprint. With an insta-down and strong map pressure, he is solid for beginners, but has a learning curve with learning how to strafe and use his sprint effectively in a chase. And with that, I think I'll wrap it up today. Thanks so much for listening to my beginner killer tips, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video where I go over more killer tips. Also, stay tuned for my much more in-depth individual killer guides coming directly after that. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified for whenever I upload. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone!